Hey friends, winter is coming, and if you're heading into Q4, still hanging on to Instagram like it is your life raft, you are in the right place because today I want to talk about building a Q4 marketing strategy that will actually work for you in 2026 and beyond. We all want to build more sustainable businesses. I feel like as a marketer that works with other small business owners, I am so keenly aware of the fact that this might be the year that breaks you, and I want to see you win so badly. So let's talk about it. Look, I love Instagram. I genuinely enjoy creating content for Instagram when my paycheck is not reliant on it because Instagram has never brought me all of the wins that marketers have promised me. I have bought every Instagram course, I have put in the hours, I have hired the social media manager. I've never ever gotten a positive ROI from Instagram. I still think it's a great point of connection. And unfortunately, I think in 2025, we all benefit from having a social media account that is semi active. So I can't tell you to just ditch it forever. Although I do have a couple clients that run a completely social media free business, it is a rarity. And I do think there is some sort of audience drop off when they go to your Instagram to kind of see if you're legit. And there's nothing there. But that doesn't mean you need to be active all the time. And it definitely doesn't mean that when you're building a Q4 marketing strategy, you should only be thinking about how many posts you want to post. So, in case we haven't met yet, I'm Kara Duncan. My business is the Kara Report, and we do content marketing like blogging and Pinterest management for small businesses that want to get found on the internet. Whether you want blogging, podcast scripts, podcast episodes that are turned into blogs for extra searchability, YouTube scripts, Pinterest, whether you want to get found by Pinterest, Google, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude. Literally, if you want to get found online, I want to help you. That's what I do for a living. But I also want to talk about, while I am going to focus primarily on Pinterest and blogging in this video, because that is my bread and butter service, you can fill in the blank with any search driven marketing that you feel fits the bill. The reason it has to be search is because I want you to be creating what I like to think of it as marketing asset. And that means, like, as long as people are searching, you have an asset that is going to meet them exactly where they are. That is what will eventually lead you to having a business where you do not have to feed the algorithm all the time. And I already told you I've hired a social media manager before, so I also want to talk about this in case you're worried about outsourcing some of these things. That's not what this video is going to be about, but I just want to get it out of the way. It's hard to outsource social media. If you're like most small business owners that I know, and like myself, we are very, very attached to our Instagram self. Like, we analyze every word of a caption. If someone else writes it and it feels like literally one iota off, it can feel hard to post because we know our friends, our family, our current clients, and any future clients are going to see it, versus outsourcing something like blogging and Pinterest, which we know only a cold audience is really going to see it. And then we have a chance to bring them in and warm them up to our world. It's not that we don't care that that content is high quality and in our voice, but we don't care about it as much as Instagram. And even when you outsource Instagram, you're still the one that has to do the talking head videos. You're the one that has to record the B rolls. Like I said, you probably have to approve everything. It just isn't the buy back your time kind of avenue that you might think that it is. And I also know this is such a bucket list hire. For so many people dream about hiring a social media manager, and I am pro social media managers. So, like, please hear me say that. But I just don't think that it should be your very first marketing hire. I think it should be like outsourced down the line. And even then, sometimes I think we need to do it in stages depending how much your business relies on your personal brand. So anyway, let's get into the depth of the episode. Here are the 6 things that you absolutely need to do to build your Q4 marketing strategy for the long haul. So first, start with keywords. Kind of the the building blocks of a search-driven marketing strategy, but hear me out. I want you to head to your SEO tool of choice. I'll give you a quick rundown. Keysearch, first and foremost, is the one that I'm recommending for most small businesses. It is not as expensive as some of the professional go-to SEO tools that have been around online for forever. It's not as expensive as those, which I find to be too expensive for most small business owners, if I'm being honest. But it has so much data that small business owners can like feed off of and actually have it be helpful. Or you could do Ubersuggest if you're super on a budget. Ubersuggest has a free plan or a very, very low cost plan. I don't find the data in Ubersuggest to be as robust or as helpful as some of the other tools, although I do feel like most SEO people will recommend it as a starter tool, and I get it because it is low cost. However, what I would personally, I feel like rather you do is like do a month of Keysearch, plan your quarter, and then like only pay for it once every quarter and like cancel it in between. That's me. And I'm not saying you should, like there are benefits to having it the whole time. So you can like track your site, audit your site, fix your SEO. But for the sake of a bare minimum kind of Q4 marketing strategy that is going to set you up in 2026, consider doing that maybe. I will have links to the tools in the description box below. Or if you're like, no, Q4, Q1, this is the time that I'm going all in on SEO, then you might want to look at something like SEMrush. I use SEMrush for a long time. It definitely has the most data in a way that makes sense. And I enjoy their site audit tool too, like if you want to make tweaks to your website for SEO. But in terms of content, I think Keysearch does the job and I think it's about half the price. So as the first thing, I would love to see you blog once a week. So I'm going to say like find 12 keywords that are going to carry you through the 3 months. Then build your outlines. So I think it's tempting to stop there and then be like, okay, I'm going to write one a week. But I like to take it one step further and you can absolutely use ChatGPT for this. Ask ChatGPT to write rough outlines for you. I like to ask it for like 4 or 5 bullet points because I don't want it to. I feel like sometimes when you ask ChatGPT to write you an outline, it really runs with it, and then you get like this long block of text that you don't even really want to read or digest. That doesn't tend to work for me personally. I like 4 or 5 bullet points that I can cover, and then I can also look at what pages are ranking for that keyword, and then I can decide how I'm going to make mine better. So build your outlines. I like to do this on a Google Doc, honestly. When clients hire me for blogging, I will present this Q4 blog plan, and it is simple by design. I have 12 topics with rough outlines. Then they can go in, add their little notes like, don't agree with this point, definitely want to mention XYZ here. Usually they spend like half an hour to maybe an hour reviewing this like plan, and that's for the entire quarter. So build something like that for yourself if you're planning to DIY because it is going to make the week to week workflow so much better. Then step 3, write your blogs one a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. I'd like to see at least that if I can, and just start. Just start. If you can batch and batching has worked for you in the past, that's great. I find most of us can't just sit down and bang out 4 blog posts in a day and then like worry about it next month. Most of us are more likely to be able to spare like 2 hours on a random Monday morning and like get a blog post done for that day. But you decide what workflow works best for you. Step 3 really is to just get these blogs out into the world. But it also let me lead into step 4, which is formatting. Format like a pro. So I would say as a professional blog writer, I spend about half the time writing and half the time actually formatting the blogs. So if you're in WordPress, that could look like adding spacers, adjusting your headings, images, alt text. So there's 3 things that I always like to do for images: rename, resize, and add alt text, and then make it easy to skim. People are mostly skimming on the internet, which I know when you spend so much time writing blogs, that can be exhausting to hear. And as a literally professional blog writer, I do this for a living. I totally feel you. I wish everyone would read every single word the way I wrote it. Obviously, I wish that. The reality is, most people are just skimming. Google cares about user experience. So if you have a good user experience and people are spending time on the site because they don't feel overwhelmed, the fastest way to get someone to immediately click off your site is to have a wall of text, okay? So add images throughout, add spacers like white space, keep the paragraph shorter, like spend about half the time writing, especially if you're using something like AI tools to help you write, which again, don't hear that as you can copy and paste from AI because I don't think that. But you can use AI tools absolutely to help you write faster. And then I would spend about half the time formatting it to make sure, like, don't rush the blog because then what is the point? And like, I mean, I don't want you to spend all day on the blog either. Everything in marketing is so nuanced, okay? But I really think that that's something that's not talked about enough. You need it to look digestible. You need it to be something that someone is going to want to read. Step 5, find the repurposing wins. So I think I want to back up a second. I feel like when we hear that we can repurpose our blog content, a lot of us think like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to map out this perfect repurposing plan. So like, I'll write the blog on Monday, it will go live on Tuesday. I will put the best one-liners into, threads for a post every day for the next week. I will create a carousel on Instagram. I will share the blog post to my story. I will write it in my newsletter on Friday, like, and all good things. Like, very, very happy for you to do that. I want you to repurpose your blog and make it go as far as possible. So The only caveat I would say is sometimes that stops us from repurposing it at all. Okay. You just spent 2 hours writing this blog post and formatting it, and then you want to do more. It's like, no, no, I know you because I am you. And the chances are you are just going to be like, I will come back to the repurposing task later. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to do it immediately. Either immediately after you write or immediately after you hit publish, and get like 1 or 2 repurposing things done. Take the best one-liner, throw the whole blog post in ChatGPT, be like, pull out the best one-liners, schedule those on threads. Done. Write your newsletter right after you write the blog. Done. Do not create a very complicated, like best case scenario workflow because you aren't going to do it. Instead, let's say you go with the newsletter idea. So you turn the blog post into your newsletter once a week. Then once you've been consistent for like a couple weeks, maybe a month, then you add the threads. Then you have the Instagram carousels. Okay. I think repurposing is so important. Like I said, I really think of writing blog posts and creating content online that is search driven as building assets for yourself that you can use over and over again. I really believe that, and I really think it's important. But I do think sometimes we get stuck in like the planning phase because we want the perfect workflow. And then when we bring it to life, it doesn't exactly work. 6, submit it to Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools because ChatGPT pulls from Bing. So if Bing can't find you, ChatGPT can't either. And then obviously we want it to rank on Google. This takes like 1 second to do. Submitting it to Google Search Console or submitting your new blog post to Bing, this takes 1 second. And let me also say, if you've never done this before, chances are it found you anyway, right? These are incredibly robust algorithms. They have their robots scanning the sites and likely they found you. However, why not make it easier? Why not make it faster for yourself? While we're talking about Q4 marketing strategy, I also want to talk about why Q4 is the best time to start this. It is prime planting season because I feel like everyone else is chasing Black Friday chaos. And like, listen, if you're going to throw this isn't in addition to, it's not a instead of, but I also think Black Friday is kind of like optional, depending on the kind of business. That could be a whole other video. But I want to say blog posts can take 3 to 6 months to rank, okay, depending on a few factors. But if you start now, by January or by like early spring, you are going to start seeing the rewards of your effort. If you wait until January, you're going to see the rewards of your effort during the summer when most of us see slumps across our marketing content in general. So while I would say there is never a bad time to start doing blogging in Pinterest, there is a great time, and that is Q4. I can't think of a better time other than like going back in time and starting in like 2020 or something like that. 2010 even, like if you could start then, that's great. But for most of us, like Q4 is the best time to start. And right now, you could take advantage of the fact that you can look at like New Year's, like trends posts always seem to do well when you write them 3 months in advance. I like to think Q4 isn't about just finishing strong, although I hope your business finishes strong. I hope this is the best quarter ever for you, but it's also thinking about what you want for 2026 and how you can actually take action to help you get there. And I also just kind of want to talk about a little fear you might be having, which is blogging dead? Like, should I actually be investing in this, or is search driven traffic going to go away? I have to say, there's a few things that I want to say about this. So old school SEO is like you're on page 1 or you're nothing, which is true. Still a little bit like that. You're searching on Google. But one thing that I find interesting is ChatGPT pulls 90% of its sources from page 3 or lower, which means you don't have to be the biggest, the best, the most authority to be found online. You just have to be the most helpful. And the reality is, well, I think some of the like professional bloggers, so I consider myself a professional blog writer, but I write for small businesses that want to make sales from their blog for their business. I'm not like a professional blog writer, like if you have a lifestyle blog or whatever. That's not exactly what I do. And they tend to rely on higher traffic because they're making their money through affiliate income, which I mean, like, I'm talking like Amazon affiliate where you need a higher volume, not like I have clients that like are affiliates for software they use and stuff, and they can make a decent chunk of change from their blog for these softwares, which I think is very cool. But I'm talking about like if you rely on high traffic for your blog post to make you money, I can kind of see where they're saying that SEO is dead. I don't think that it is. I actually think that it will correct itself, but right now we're really not seeing those high like million monthly page views of traffic. But as a business owner, you really, really do not need that so it doesn't affect you. And sometimes I think in the online space, everyone has an opinion about everything, and we just need to like put our blinders on and just be like, this is a priority for me and I want to get it done. And I've already talked about how it's marketing assets. So you can like reuse that content in different ways over and over again. And that alone, I think, makes it worth creating. But I really also think that people searching for solutions they need is not going anywhere. And like, if you're, let's say, like a website designer, you're a wedding photographer, you're a, I don't know, course creator, whatever, people are like looking for those solutions. They're not just looking for a blog to be their end point, right? So think about that. Even if they go to ChatGPT first, they're not going to end there if they actually want someone to do a service for them afterward. They want to buy a t-shirt, right? So here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, if you're a solopreneur or small business owner, Instagram will burn you out if it is your only source of revenue. Like if that's the only way people are finding you, being nurtured by you, and buying from you, Instagram is going to burn you out. It's only a matter of time. So Q4 really is the best time to start investing in these search-driven marketing platforms like Pinterest, like blogging, like YouTube, like podcasting, and you can do it all yourself or you can hire help. So like I said, that's what I do. I do blogging and Pinterest. I will also write podcast scripts, turn your podcast episodes into blogs, and write YouTube scripts for you. So if that is something that you're interested in so that you can keep the leads rolling in even while you're sipping cocoa in December, I would love to chat. Head to thecarereport.com. I have all my services with pricing online, or send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to help you set up a Q4 marketing strategy plan that works for you, not against you. So anyway, that's all for this week. Do all the YouTube things. So like, subscribe, notifications, and I will talk to you next week.